99.9 Punk World Radio FM. We are live on this beautiful Saturday night trying to dodge that crazy ice storm we got here in Canada. But with that being said, we have Washington, D.C.'s own. We have R-NØT right here live on the radio and, of course, YouTube as well. Mike, Paul, Chuck, how you guys doing tonight?
Woo!
Fantastic.
Awesome. Glad to be here. I mean, obviously, you guys are dodging ice. We're like dodging the 85-degree weather. So, you know.
Well, first and foremost, I got to say, super jealous already. So definitely the interview is not off to a great start. I'm jealous of all three of you guys for that 85-degree weather. But we're definitely not going to be dodging it. It's going to be hitting Ottawa at 4 a.m. So I'm going to go to bed with relatively just cold weather. I'm going to wake up to ice storm. So as long as it's not the ice storm on 98, I don't care.
Okay.
But no, I gotta ask first and foremost, guys. Thank you so much for a bit of your time. Obviously, I am jealous of the 85-degree weather, but I'm super glad to chat with you guys. I've been loving what you guys have been doing with the punk rock community, loving your guys' music. So it's an absolute honor to chat with you three here tonight.
Well, thanks for having us. We're going by DJ, Deej, M-O?
DJ Immortal, yeah, that's my yeah.
I'm just gonna call you Immortal because I'm also a DJ from a long time ago, and my DJ name was Epidemic. It still is, but I just go by Epidemic. Anytime anybody's like I remember Paul was like, "Yo, DJ Epidemic's gonna open up for an R-NØT set," and I said, "Yeah, it's just gonna be Epidemic." So I'm just gonna call you Immortal.
Honestly, that's what most people call me now. Anyways, it's almost like kind of like with you, man. You know, like after a while, the DJ. The beginning of the name DJ kind of fades out and people just call you the name Immortal. Like people do the same thing with me as well. I just add the DJ Immortal thing in there because, I mean, it's just nostalgic, right?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Very 90s of you.
Hey, man, I wish we can go back to that, honestly. It was a much simpler time. But, you know, if we were in the 90s, we wouldn't be able to do something like this. So God bless the modern day as well. But I know you guys are busy individuals, so of course I'm not going to take you away from your Saturday night too long. But I got to take you back to the beginning of R-NØT, and I have to ask, like, what is the story behind this band? Like, how did you three actually meet and come together as one to form this killer band?
It was a story of a guy named Paulie who was trolling all the local music scene. Man.
Tell us the story, Paul. Come on.
You should tell the story, man.
Come on. Two Thumbs is the epicenter of the R-NØT quake. No, I mean, all joking aside, right? Like, I could go way back with this story, but for purposes of time, sort of coming out of COVID, I really missed all the fun I'd had in the, you know, just participating in the music scene and playing live music and continuing, you know, to engage with people. And it kind of taught me how like important music is for everybody at whatever level you can do it, you know. So, anyways, doing that, I was like, I'm gonna put a band back together. I mean, from the late '90s, I've had a career late '90s, mid 2000s, did some fun stuff. Maybe we'll talk about that some other time. But yeah, I was just sort of missing doing it, so I wanted to put something back together, and then, you know, really missing a lot of the throwback, a lot of the energy, and a lot of the good vibes from back in the day. I mean, we can keep throwing the '90s vibe out there and stuff. So wanted to be sort of a, you know, energetic, engaging, you know, kind of music. So just whipped up a EP, kind of threw some band members together and tried to roll on the post-COVID scene. And we were off, but we weren't this version. And so, you know, as a standard story in a lot of bands, you know, different things hit people, different life opportunities, different things. And so, you know, went through a couple different incarnations, but basically, I ran into Mike. He was playing with another band, so I stole him, and because he's a hard-hitting drummer, and I was like, man, I need some of that. And then I'd met I met Chuck in the open mic night scene, just a way to participate and hang out and like meet other people doing funky, eclectic stuff. And he was he didn't want any part of it. So I'm gonna like stop talking, and maybe he can like come in and explain like what it was that convinced him. But like basically a year later, he was like, fine.
Yeah, you know, he was definitely kind of creeping around, haunting our Wednesday night scene back in the day at this local brewery. And, you know, eventually it got to the point where he wore me down, started playing a lot of his originals acoustic. And I kept thinking to myself, oh, you know, these are catchy. We could do something more with this. And then he started stroking my ego quite a bit when it came down to, oh, you know, you'd be great if we did this like punk thing, this 90s kind of revival. And then this whole thing about 30 years after Dookie came out, and then it turned into that. And ultimately, what I said to him was, "Hey, I think it's a year." And at that point, we just started messing around and announcing demos back and forth. So
A lot of you there.
quick.
And also, as Chuck, one thing I have to, sorry, Paul, I have to ask you, because I do know as well, you said there's different incarnations of this band as well. So I have to ask, during my research for this interview, I also saw that that R-NØT was at one point a 4-piece, if I'm not mistaken. What actually made you decide to kind of keep it a trio rather than a 4-member band?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. And like I said, so the story actually goes all the way back to, the band that I was hinting at from 100 years ago, a band I was in called Subversive. It was really sort of turn of the millennia, late 90s, early 2000s, very noisy. I would hate to say like new metal, but like, grungy, experimental. And the guys I was rolling with at that time, they were some of the same people that I reached out to basically 20 years later, coming out of COVID, and was like, "Hey, you guys missing it? Like I'm missing it." And for that brief period of time, they were available, they were interested, and stuff like that. But like I said, just sort of, everybody was a different place in their life, and as fun as it was to be reinvigorated by doing music, the life plans, the drummer who was with me in the Subversive era was a close friend for a really long time. He had some shakeups in his family, and coming from a Greek background, a very traditional Greek family, he ended up having to like step up and take over the family business. And he's like, "Look, I just can't, I can't keep filling the slots." And the other guy, his name was Tommy. Tommy was a great sort of rhythm and lead guitarist for stuff, but his life was busy, and they were like, "Hey, we're happy to play a few shows here and there and kind of get the band back together." But long term, it wasn't the recipe for what R-NØT was.
And also, October 29th, 2020, in the midst of COVID, you guys actually released your first demo track that was actually released on SoundCloud called Seraph. With a few days later, the second demo release called Slatter. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about these early demo recordings, and of course, was it a difficult process to actually get this done amidst the pandemic?
Great questions. Good questions. Love them. This is engaging. All right. There's a lot of stuff for me here. We're going to have to find a way to do it.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Chuck. I promise the newer questions are coming. We got to get through the old shit first.
Yeah. Well, the deal is I'm a prolific songwriter, and I've never been able to stop writing songs. I tried to put it down for a long time. And anyway, so with all that, like even the demo and recording that and stuff is like, even when COVID hit, I was had obviously a lot of time to figure out how to continue to harness my guitar sound, the stuff that I wanted to do, and then even the state of technology, which we're all reveling in right now, that's allowing us to sort of be together, made it easy for me to sort of basically kind of record an EP at home. So it was sort of lo-fi. It didn't involve a big studio, but again, it's just all songs that I'd been, brewing and chewing on to come out there, and just wanted to be sort of that first, the songs that were released. Man, you did your homework, but the songs that were released were supposed to kind of make people go, "What?" Because you can have songs like Lobotomy and songs like Seraph, and some people will get it and be like, "Oh man, it's like raw and visceral and real," and and all that. And other people have been like, "Oh, but it's not in this tight slice of the pie." So it was just sort of like, "Hey, this is going to be let you know that this could go in any direction, but it's still going to be kind of aggressive." So
I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoy those two demos, man, because I do know about 2 years later you actually implemented those on the EP titled R2. And just digging into that EP, because I know both of those songs are on there, which are stellar additions, but you also have new music as well when you dropped that in April of 2022. I was wondering if you could actually break down that phenomenal EP that you guys dropped.
Yeah. So that was with the original lineup before these guys, and so we'll switch over and talk about Dumpster Fire. So these guys have some work to show for it, but yeah, I mean, that was really where I was just basically saying, hey, midlife crisis and all. I never wanted to be like those bands that, I can do all the slow, grungy, cool stuff and have a good time and really love rocking out. But really, by the time the EP came together for the R2 version, I really just wanted to hit the ground running with a lot of the upbeat type of sort of more of what I call throwback punk stuff, and kind of start from a very good up, high energy kind of set and get people really. It's just about pogoing and moshing your butt off as sort of the main thing coming straight out of the gate.
And also, I was going actually in the dumpster fire. That was actually my next question. February 14th of 2025, the 12-track album Dumpster Fire actually dropped. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story and inspiration behind this killer album, because I got to say, this is 12 tracks of absolute fire.
Aw. Well, good. Then mission accomplished. But like,
I will say, you guys completely. I will say, in this is the best way I can explain it. You guys definitely don't live up to the name of the album, because this album is absolute fire, but it's not dumpster fire. It's actually legit fire. So I got to say that. I want to say it's not dumpster fire. It's a good kind of fire. Yeah. The eardrum melters.
Well, Mike and Chuck, take it away. However you guys.
Well, can I just?
Oh, let Mike go. He's got so much he got to say.
Yeah, I like to talk a lot, so I just want to say, just go back a little bit, right? Just a little bit. So I meet Paul in the summer of 2023. I was playing in a different band. His band, the not even the original lineup of R-NØT, but like kind of the second or maybe the third lineup of R-NØT, because we're the fourth lineup, I think, third or fourth, before we ended up being the actual band. Again, this is very, very Spinal Tap of us, very even Nirvana of us. Like, you got it. Even bands like Rush. Neil Peart was not their original drummer, right? And I know that's going to resonate, right? Because we have a lot of listeners in Canada, right? But like, so I meet Paul. We become friends. We're talking a lot. We get on the phone. We talk for an hour, 2 hours at a time. No joke. We still probably get on the phone a few times a week and talk for at least an hour. Not that I don't get on the phone and talk to Chuck a lot, but I don't, because Chuck doesn't like to talk on the phone a lot.
I don't.
So let's just be honest here, right? So I'm kind of like rambling a little bit as I do. But so anyway, so I when I met Paul and we started, playing together a little bit here and there, it was like, hey, you want to sit in and just, you really hit these drums really hard, you're really fast. I got some punk rock stuff I really want to do. Do you want to sit in and play here and there, whatever? It's like, sure. So it started with that, and then it turned into like the spring of 2024. It was like, hey, I want to go into the studio, take this R-NØT thing, and I want to record a full album. And I want it to be very reminiscent, if not the greatest thing since Dookie, because it's the 30-year anniversary of Dookie. So I've got about 20-something demos of songs that I've been writing. So this is, when Paul says he's a prolific songwriter, this guy literally has thousands of songs. Thousands of songs. Like, about a month or maybe 2 months ago, sent us a Dropbox folder of an entire album worth of like really heavy stuff. Really good, really heavy stuff. Just some demos he recorded in his basement by himself, like nothing. And I listened to him and I'm like, dude, this stuff could be put on an album tomorrow and people would love it. But anyway, it all turned into whittling these songs down from 20-something songs, down to 15-something songs, down to 12 songs, and those 12 songs were Dumpster Fire. And so we got together, we started playing a little bit. We went into the studio in July last year, went into Ivocoke Studios in DC with Ben Green, an amazing engineer, an amazing dude. And we started recording that album with him. Some of these songs, like Must Be Nice, Ritalin, some of these songs that are on Dumpster Fire, we had played together as a group a couple times at most. Sat down in the studio and just recorded them. And spent a lot of time on that, and here we are. So I guess I'll pause there and I'll let.
Okay, so Mike, you are missing the most important part of this story, and is our time.
Get 'em.
I have a coda.
How did I miss the most important thing?
Do you remember the pizza? I know. Look, there was a pizza. It was like every pork product you could find in the DC area with mambo sauce on it. Is it mambo or mumbo?
Mambo.
I think it's potato, mambo, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Immortal, come to DC and get one of these pizzas. It's like, it's a local thing. It's a special sauce that you can only get here. But we ordered that, and I think it was the last time we could have anything spicy on a pizza, because ever since, like, Paul and I just can't do it anymore. But beyond that, like, the studio experience was I think a very good bonding experience for us as well. I mean, I know that Mike and I, we were just joining the band, and we really grew as a unit. There was a lot of antics. There's some video. We strapped a GoPro to Mike, which was an interesting experiment. So I occasionally, if I ever need a laugh, we'll go back and look at that one. And it is like a spider monkey jumping through trees. It's wild. But
Was
We
that
had a
him?
great
Was that Mike all excited over that pizza, or was he just jumping through trees just because he wanted
It
to
was
jump
the
through
Mountain
trees?
Dew. Mountain Dew. He gets
Mike's-
all worked up.
I drank
Mike's like the
Mountain Dew.
Energizer Bunny on.
You cannot contain that man.
Yeah.
But it works for
Like
us.
he's pretty subdued right now.
Yeah,
You
this
don't
is
know, and that's
calm
why he
Mike.
makes a great drummer, because he's hard hitting, and he loves hitting, and that was part of the the chemistry. So we've been talking about the incarnations of the band and why doing Dumpster Fire and stuff, but it's like Chuck was on board to record Dumpster Fire, Mike was on board to record Dumpster Fire. Mike wasn't really out of his other band yet; they were still doing stuff, and it was just hey, mentioning that I've got all these type of songs is like, yeah, I'm no spring chicken anymore, and I kind of just wanted to I just want to move forward with this stuff. Maybe if I can release, if I can be with our creative people and release an album once a year, regardless of the looking at the financials of it, but just in terms of like what you're doing with music, just to keep going through that journey, then that's going to be us in the right direction. So that was sort of a reason to start with Dumpster Fire. Yeah.
And Paul, a few moments ago, when Mike actually mentioned how there was like so many songs in a Dropbox folder that got sent off to all you guys, obviously, by the sounds of it, there's a lot of music that could be potentially the next R-NØT album. So I guess I got to ask the burning question that all the fans are probably thinking right now: will there actually be another album this year? Since you have so many songs lined up. I mean, these sound. I never heard of a band having hundreds of deep cuts of an album, but it looks like R-NØT is probably one of the first punk bands to have that many songs as a cut from an album. So will the fans get to hear this Dropbox in time?
We've got plans, son. Mikey's got plans. Mikey's like a mix master promoter and stuff like that. We've got a lot of content that we're looking to put out there. So I'm going to answer that question in two parts. Number one, there's a lot of stuff that we even demoed around with, as he was saying, that didn't make the Dumpster Fire cut, that are great songs. Some of that might appear on the next album. The next official album we've already earmarked is going to be called Gaslighter. So going from the Dumpster Fire to Gaslighter, I think we've got like some Pyromania in us. But on top of that, we've got awesome covers and stuff that we've done while in the studio. A lot of different kind of content, and you never really can tell. I mean, that's part of the blessing and the curse of being in the situation. Is like we're here, we're on a punk rock podcast. It also said alternative. I came alive musically with the concept of alternative. Wasn't dyed in the wool like a young super punk super fan, as it were. But so punk rock really represents to me freedom to sort of do what you want rather than being slavishly, trying to adhere to a clique or something. And so with that, I think the fans, and I'm glad that they're to think that they're out there or that they'd be interested in hearing the answer to that question. But I mean, they're going to have to buckle up, because there's just, the sky's the limit. There's a lot of content, and we're happy to tease it and leak it. I mean, I'll even send you links to Dropbox you can check out and privately review some of that stuff and be like, man, because if you started listening to Slider and Seraph, when Mike says, hey, I shared another folder full of heavy stuff, it's stuff that's like punk and nasty, but it's like grunge punk, stuff that mashing up elements that haven't been aired out like that in a good minute. So.
Well, I gotta say, Paul, if you want to send the link over, I'm not gonna complain. I sure as heck will not share it with anybody. I'll definitely listen, but ain't no one else is gonna get it.
Sure.
I'm telling you, when I say that there's so much music, it's ridiculous. When I tell people that before Dumpster Fire even came out, we were playing songs off the next album live already, before Dumpster Fire even dropped, people looked at me like I was insane. I was like, no, I'm telling you, like, the next album, we've already earmarked the 12 tracks for that album. Like, that's already done. Like, we could go to the studio probably tomorrow and start recording that album, right? We're trying not to just blast everybody, I think, like, right away with just album after album after album. That'd be very King Gizzard of us, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. But at the same time, it's like, to Paul's point about putting out an album a year, right? Giving some little teasers here and there, even some demos, some covers, like just shit like that would just be, I think again, it's to Immortal, to your point, it's like one of those things where you just don't hear a lot of bands coming to the table with that. It's like, yeah, we got this album. We're glad you love it. We're glad you think it's all killer, no filler, right? That's great. But it's like, we've got like an unlimited amount of that. And even some of the songs off of the next album, Gaslighter, are not even songs that Paul wrote, a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. They're songs that he'll just be like, hey, I wrote this riff today, and so I went down to my basement and just recorded a demo of it. Here you go. And it's like this beautiful, perfect demo, and we're like, Holy shit, man. Yeah, that could be another single. Like, no problem. Like, that's well on par with like Sheep or like, you know, any of these other songs that people are just eating up. And it's just it's really incredible, man. It really is. And it's Paul. I mean, we're here to help, right? We're part of this dynamic.
Go
but
team.
I mean, Paul just has this songwriting magic about him that's just very unicorn-esque. Can I say unicorn-esque? Is that a thing? I don't know. It is now.
It is now.
You're gonna
It
have
is
to spell
now.
it.
It's an R-NØT thing. That's what it is. Gotta get that patent pended, man, so no one can take it.
Yeah.
All right. Note to self.
Putting that on a T-shirt.
Unicorn.
Merchandising.
Oh, here we go. See, it's always about making moves.
I think that would actually make a pretty damn killer T-shirt, man. Maybe put the R-NØT logo right in it, so have like the unicorn horn going through your guys's like where it has the O with the X
Sounds
with
like
the
we're gonna
little
have to give
line
you
through it.
royalties. I don't think.
Yeah,
you wanna-
I don't know, honestly, man.
Take this
If you
offline.
make it, all that I
You heard
say
it
is just
here.
give me a T-shirt. I don't want royalties. Just give me a T-shirt. I'll call it a day.
You get a
Pretty sure we
T-shirt
can make it
anyway.
work.
Don't you worry. Make sure we got
I
your
know a guy or two that can make some of those. That'd be great.
But also, guys, speaking of like doing shows and and whatnot, just last week, March 19th of 2025, you actually took the stage at Jam and Java. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this past event. And with that being said, any other up and coming shows that way the R-NØT fans can come out and see you guys live in person?
Well, that's the deal. Like, honestly, I think we're really fun live, and that's what the energy we're trying to bring. You know, when you get a bunch of people packed in and get them in a good spot to just have fun with the music. You know, that's what we're up against. There's a bunch of shows. I'll leave it to Mikey to sort of robotically list the litany of stuff. I think some of it culminates in some stuff pretty exciting, in the summer tour season. But yeah, as tip off, I'll just say Jam and Java. It's in the Northern Virginia area, the DC scene. It's a north of the slice of Virginia. Doesn't have that many top tier of the B tier venues. That doesn't have any real A+ venues. So Jam and Java is a pretty solid one. Some pretty big acts over a wide swath of music history have come in and out of there, and we actually just jumped in to fill the bill with another band in the local scene that that we've been coming up with and playing around with, named Shrewdness of Apes. They were having their own EP release show that day and asked us to help bring the energy, bring the noise, and it was a pretty so that's what we did. That's what we do.
And a fun fact about that show, I believe that was the first time that this iteration of R-NØT played Seraph live.
Ooh, that would be true.
So put that in your trivia jar for later on in the future when this comes up,
Yeah, that is true. And we had played it together as a band maybe like 5 times total.
I was thinking like 3.
Maybe 3, yeah.
Yeah.
We good. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Oh,
it
and
was
that's-
the
that's
parking lot
another-
rehearsal,
That's another
right?
thing with us too is there is such this like culmination of just what's the word I'm looking for here? This culmination of like chemistry between us. Like when we get together and we rehearse about once a week, and it almost every week, Paul will start playing some riff for some random song that's usually a deep cut from some album that most people of a band that most people won't even know, like Super Drag, like Sucked Out by Super Drag. Who the hell knows that song? Some
Paul
people
does.
do, not a lot. We'll start playing it, and then we just play the whole song, and we stop and we're like, oh, okay, cool, we could do that. Like, that happens with us all the time. There's just such a chemistry between us, and then you just drop. Paul will start playing random songs. He'd be like, I wrote this riff. He'll start playing the riff. He'll go through the whole song. We'll play it with him, play the whole song, and be like, oh, cool. That's a new song you just
I'm
wrote.
a slave driver.
Write it down. Right. Write it down. And it's like, okay, cool.
We never get anything focused in practice, though. We're bouncing from ideas to ideas. It's the ADHD. We're all just like bouncing off the wall.
That's why Dumpster Fire was a good.
It went quick,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's the songs are quick. We don't lose focus. We can make it 90 seconds or so, without having any. Wait, what was I talking about?
Yeah, I forget. Hey, but Mikey, tell them about the upcoming dates. That's want to keep us honest.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's exactly the point.
Yep. Upcoming dates. So we've got next Friday. We're in Washington D.C. Playing a venue called the Artemis with a band called Death Cat from Richmond and another band called Cortland Experiment from the D.C. area. And then a brand new record store opened in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where I live, which I'm super pumped about. and we're playing there with Don Zintera, who you may know from the legendary engineer from Inner Ear Recording Studios, Discord Records, etc. Recorded all the Minor Threat, Fugazi, Bad Brains, all of that. We're playing a show with him on April 19th, and then dates that are booked right now that we can talk about. We've got May 31st. We're playing a skate park festival. So I'm a skateboarder. So very, 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 very tight knit with the skate scene in the area and anywhere I can be. So we're playing a skate festival in May in Afton, Virginia. We're then playing Wax Packs Records up in Berwick, Pennsylvania on June 6th. We're then playing a practice set show in Ithaca, New York on June 7th. We are then also scheduled to play a major music festival in the Midwest in July. We can't announce any of that right now as the lineups and all the details haven't been announced yet. But you'll see that soon. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll be able to see all the details for all those shows. And we have a lot of other shows in the works. Not going to get into any of those right now. A lot of things haven't been finalized, but we've got a lot of big plans for this year to get out and play live all up and down the East Coast, out in the Midwest, and who knows, we may even end up out of the West Coast, maybe even outside of the United States by the end of this year.
And first and foremost, Mike, I have to say, I definitely hope you guys actually slide on through to Canada at some point, but also, I love that Bad Religion t-shirt you're rocking, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. We actually cover We're only gonna die. We cover that very, 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 very heavy version of that, and Fast. It may or may not be a cover that we release this year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But thanks, Immortal. I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. And also, speaking of, I do know you guys said you're working on another record. You got this huge tour that you guys actually are going on. But aside from all that, what is next for R-NØT? Like, is there anything we happen to miss during this evening's interview? Anything else you guys do still want to touch on, talk about, or promote? Well, we still got you here live on 99.9 FM tonight.
Yeah. Well, how much longer do you got? We can talk forever. You can bring us back. Happy to talk about that. No, I mean, we could have. The things to bring up, I mean, we're kind of still in a nascent band, even though, look at Mikey, we've got the test.
What I'll do quickly, actually, so everyone can see is I'll take us three off. That way Mike can show this.
So we are dropping Dumpster Fire on vinyl. This is the PDF proof of the front and the back and the label itself. I have the insert over there. The vinyl will be out. The first 250 pressings will be out on April 14th. We'll have those. We'll have a link on our Bandcamp that we'll have up, and we'll obviously have them at all our live shows as well. First 250 pressings. And we're going to be doing some giveaways we've got some test pressings we're going to be giving away and signed copies of the album as well. Dumpster Fire on vinyl. We're super, super fucking pumped about that.
Yeah.
That looks badass.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're really proud of the album and excited to get it on vinyl. We know there's a lot of vinyl fans out there, streaming, and it's great for getting the word around the world as quickly as possible. But vinyl's kind of special. About recording Gaslighter and things to keep in mind. We were in the scenes that we grew up with. We owe so much to so many different types of bands and producers and small labels that we grew up with, and discovered one way or the other. So you never really can tell about what's going to be the final recipe for the next album, but we are really interested in continuing to network. And who knows, like maybe parts of Gaslighter will be recorded maybe up with Bill Stevenson out of Colorado Springs there in the blasting room. We can get a hold of him and nail some studio time. But like we're thinking about, going on an eclectic recording project, if you will. You know how like Dave Grohl had that whole Sonic Highways thing where, going and all these magical, wonderful different studios that had iconic sound and stuff like that. But a mission we're kind of on is to try to go ahead and put an album where, it's our love note back to the punk and alternative rock music scene, seeing who we can get interested to, record a few tracks. Since obviously we got the material, but also just to get the opportunity to put something together. Like, oh my God, that was recorded. These tracks were here and those tracks were there. And, so like, we've got a great relationship with Don Zintera from Inner Ear, as Mike said. So, that's on the list. And just working our way through some of our old school favorite people that are still out there supporting bands and being part of the music scene one way or the other, like Bill Stevenson, as I said. So, that's kind of maybe what next. That's on our mission. Can we pull that off? can we, on our mission to put out more content, kind of get our own little Sonic Highway album experiment.
And also, obviously, I know how to follow R-NØT across all social media platforms. But for the people listening on the radio down here in Canada that might just be discovering you guys, and I hope this isn't the first time they're discovering you guys, because we are a punk rock radio station, and you guys are a killer band. So hopefully, they've already followed you guys. But with that being said, how do we actually follow you across all social media platforms? That way we can stay updated on the vinyl pressing, the new record, the tour, all the amazing things you got going on in 2025.
Well, like you take our Linktree, pass that around, or put it on the side of your site. That's good. Mike already dropped the, main way these days is take it or leave it on Instagram for the most part, just to get started. But between Linktree and Instagram is a great place to, get that sort of superficial first touch about things that are happening. Outside of that, like we at this stage, we really love engaging with our fans. And so, I mean, we got, R-NØT at rnot.com or whatever is an email. Send us an email, one way or the other, and be like, I haven't heard of you, but I heard, I heard your email address, so I'm sending you a message, and who knows, we'll pick it up from there. But yeah, I mean, I think I said it right. Somewhere between Linktree, where again, you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got YouTube. We are kind of dumb, so like it was like the dumbest thing for us to do is to put out in a world of singles is to put out a 12-song album. So you're welcome. And then also like to have a funky way of spelling the name R-NØT because it's hard to search for. So you're welcome. So we recognize we made it a challenge, but hopefully we put out enough there, soon the internet will do our bidding.
But I will say, when it comes to a 12-track album, honestly, like personally, I'd much rather prefer albums. I don't know about maybe I'm just an old school fan, but I like albums, man. I don't mind singles, but if I really love a band, I want more than a single. A single makes me hungry for more, and I don't like it. I want a 12-track album. That way I can actually pick apart the album. If I want to listen to track 7, then track 2, and then go to 1, I can do that. Or I can listen from front ways to backwards, So personally, I like the album touch. It's good to see bands like yourselves are still dropping records this day and age. Singles are cool, but I want an album, dude. I hate that single because it makes you want more. You listen to the song and you're like, fuck, man, I really love this band, but I want more. There's only so many times you can put a song on repeat before no matter how good the song is, you start to be like, damn, man, this is getting old a little bit. So at least I'm...
Yeah, I don't know how much time we have left, but I mean, that's a great segue when you ask, like, is there something to talk more about? And it's like, look, when it might sound arrogant or haughty for us to have said, hey, when we were thinking about Dumpster Fire, it was the 30th anniversary of Dookie, Green Day, and we all sort of just agreed one way or the other that it was an inherently listenable album. You could listen to the whole thing and really get a sense of what Green Day was about, and they really haven't shifted too far from roughly the same sort of roots that they exposed, in a listenable sense from that. And so, long story short, even the songs we selected for Dumpster Fire, admittedly there were a lot more, was just trying to say, hey, the challenge was, is it an inherently listenable experience? Okay, check. Is there enough variety, right? And that really is a personal journey somebody else will go through in terms of what tickles their fancy. But even amongst the three of us, like, hey, I felt like there was some good throwback punk in there. I felt like there was some good grunge punk in there, right? I felt like there was some just good old rock and roll. At the end of the day, we're sort of just like punk inspired more than, like I said, slavishly punk. So that's why, the intentionality behind Dumpster Fire was to kind of, paint with a wide palette. Like, it's all energetic, it's all high octane, if you will, right? But like, there's these interesting snapshots. So you're like, I can't pin this band down, but it's rocking. So if that was sort of the experience you got, then mission accomplished, Mike, Chuck, you did it.
Oh, 100%. It had a lot of seasonings and spices in that sauce, man. You know what I mean? A lot of different sprinkles up in there. I love it.
Big time.
But also, guys, I got to say first and foremost, thank you so much for giving not only myself, but the radio station airwaves a bit of your time. It was such an honor speaking with you three. When the new album drops, I know, Paul, you mentioned it. I would love to have you guys come back on because I do know we got a lot more that we could talk about here on Punk World Radio. So when that new record does drop, we'll definitely set something up and get R-NØT back on Punk World Radio FM. But for now, Mike, Paul, Chuck, thank you three for your time. And we definitely shall talk again here soon, guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
Love it. Thanks for having us.
You're good. Keep rocking, Canada.
Hey, most definitely, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful night.
All right. You too. Thanks.